Hello everyone and welcome to the mini lecture short introduction to spoken Estonian, so of my generation. So I based this slideshow or like mini lecture, whatever, on my own experience. I just want to say that I have not used some kind of corpus or anything, so this is just purely based on my experience. If you hang out with older people or younger people, then it might be a bit different, but I would like to talk about the more common words and phrases, etc. So why you should learn this is that first, it is hardly taught in textbooks, and we don't speak like textbooks. Nobody does. Like textbooks have this like very convenient they show that language users speak in a very convenient way, so in a way that you as a language learner would understand, but that's not the case. We are quite selfish in that regard, I guess, but everyone is, like everyone does that. Like nobody speaks like a textbook. And I feel like if you learn these things that I'm going to tell you, then you can like easily level up your speaking skills, because it's going to sound way more natural and you're going to understand what the other person is telling you. And also comprehension. So if you don't know about these things, then you might not understand what the other person is saying despite studying, and you will be able to eavesdrop. Even if you don't talk to another person, you will actually understand what other people are saying, especially like people in their 20s. So let's look at some common phrases. For example, ma ei tea, I don't know. Ma ei tea. But if you want to sound more Estonian or like more natural, then ma ei tea. Ma ei tea. Then you lose the e sound, not ma ei tea, it's mai tea. And Estonian, like, you can turn Estonian statements, like Estonian like affirmative sentences, into a question by adding või at the end. It's like, for example, see on probleem või, see on probleem, that is a problem, või is or. That's a problem, or it's like you're asking for an alternative, like, is it a problem or not? See on probleem või. But in spoken Estonian, it will turn in või will turn into vä, so see on probleem vä, for example. And other examples include oli raske vä, tead vä, ei tea vä, nägid vä. So yeah, so nii vä, like this, not nii või, nii vä. This is really common. Other phrases include mis asja. So if you're like, huh, what? Kind of, mis asi is like, huh? What? So basically the same thing, but mis asja is like, what? Like more, well, mis asja is the third form, so like osastav, but mis asi is the first form, so nimetav, so I guess there's a slight difference, but I would say that they're like interchangeable. Mis asi is like, what are you talking about? But mis asja is like, what are you like telling me? Like, what are you explaining? Kind of, so mis asi is more like an object you're talking about, because it's the first case, but let's not dive into the details yet. Mida värki is like, what the, like värk, I will explain this later, but värk is a very interesting word. It's like a thing, värk, or like a system, but if you say värk, then you like say that it's, you mean that it's like kind of like complicated and like weird. So mida värki is like, what the, mis mõttes, like what do you mean? Kind of like, for example, when you have a lecture tomorrow and then like, I don't know, 5 hours before the lecture is going to take place, your lecturer gives you homework, then it's like mis mõttes, like how dare you, kind of meaning. And mida sa ajad and mis sa ajad is like, what are you talking about? Like, huh, what? Like, mida sa ajad is like really, like what are you saying? But mis sa ajad is like, they have this, it's very difficult to translate this, but they have this small nuances, but like mis sa ajad, mida sa ajad, one of them has this nuance of like, what you're saying is weird, and the other is like, I don't understand what you're saying because your pronunciation is so bad. Like both, it can mean both things. So it's a reaction, and just saying like all these are non-vulgar, or like, but they're informal, but they're not like offensive or anything. So let's talk about elision a little bit, because I think this is the most like comfortable thing we do. So the nuud ending, we talked about nuud in the video about Estonian past tenses. We don't say nuud, we say nd. So not ei teinud or ei läinud, ei saanud, but ei teinud, ei läinud, ei saanud. It's really comfortable. But we can't always do this because ei tahtnud. We can't. That was British. We can't just say ei tahtnud. I think my mom says ei taht sometimes, but that might be a dialect thing. Not sure. So we don't always do this, but if we can, we do this. That's kind of like, you know, when we say numbers, like 30, but we say 30. So we also remove sounds there. And there are some words that are also affected by this. So tegelikult, so in reality becomes tegelt. Not like in reality, or like actually, yeah, it's actually. Tegelikult becomes tegelt, and ainult becomes aint. And then let's look at some vocabulary as well. So asi, asja, asja, that's like thing. Yeah, some kind of thing. And then värk, värgi, värki is some kind of like thing or situation or activity. So värk is more complex than asi, I would say. Then we have the noh, which is like well, like a filler word, like või noh, kind of oh well, something like that. Then we use et, which means that or in order to. For example, ma ütlesin et, I said that. Or like et sind paremini näha, to see you better. But we use this et as a filler word, like although we can just repeat it, and well, it will sound weird, but we kind of like add it in even if it doesn't make sense that much. And then my favorite, mingi, which means some, like some kind of like random or unclear thing, kind of like mingi tüüp, like some dude or like some guy, like random, unclear, like we don't really think well of him. Like mingi naine, some woman, kind of like, but it can also be like about or like approximately mingi kell 5, like about 5 or something, like that's the vibe. And then we also can add selline, which is a totally proper word, by the way. Selline is like that kind of, but we just interject it into, or like add it between other words. Nagu, it means like or comparison or like filler word. Sinine nagu taevas, blue as the sky. But we, like in English, you add like a lot, then we add nagu. And täiega is more like a slangy, informal word, and it's like totally. But then it has the formal täielikult, which means completely. Kind of the same as in English, like you would use completely in an essay, but not totally. And then küll, which like emphasizes the existence of something. I think German has doch or something like that, or like ja. Das ist ja gut, or something like that. Not sure, sorry Germans. And then also very common, at least right now, is lambist or lamp. So they both mean like out of nowhere, random. This is from the word lamp or like lamp. So lambist is out of the lamp, so it means like really random. So you can say like lambist is the adverb, so ma tegin nii lambist selle, like I did it so like randomly, or like I didn't prepare. And see oli nii lamp, it's like that was so random, or that was so like weird. And then I have a very good example at the bottom right here. So you might hear someone talk like this. Et selline asi oli küll, või noh, nagu mingi täiega huvitav, noh, värk. So you might hear someone talk like this. And then as you can see, that this person isn't saying really anything, but they're using all the verbs I just taught you. And then ma ei tea, see oli küll täiega lambist is also a very common like phrase you might hear. Once again, ma ei tea. So I don't know, ma ei tea. see oli küll, küll is the emphasizing word, täiega is like totally, and then lambist is like out of nowhere random. So yeah, and we have, oh yeah, I forgot that I changed, okay. English has entered the chat, so in order to understand Estonian slang, you need to know some English. For example, currently, the popular phrases are lock in, probably, which has been a popular phrase for a long time. I think lock in is going to disappear soon. And there's also, of course, the no way and wild, amazing, like these like short reactions. But we change these English words to like fit the Estonian syntax or like Estonian morphology, so grammar basically. So my friend course mate said, palun lock in ja tee see ära, like please lock in and do it or like get it done. And you sometimes like lock inni, palun lock inni. So the ending there shows that we need the Estonian like grammar, but sometimes we don't have to if like depending on sentence. So see on probably mingi mõttetu asi. So that's probably some kind of random or like useless pointless thing. And then when I was walking home from the supermarket, I heard a guy and the girl were walking out before me, and then the guy said, like they bought something, I don't know what it was, but the guy, and I quote, said something like this to the girl. Sul reaalselt prolli lästib see mingi 6 aega või nii. Which means, sul reaalselt, like for real, prolli is probably. Lästib is like to last, but like this is the third conjugation, so last, ib. See mingi 6 aega või nii. Mingi 6 aega is about a month või nii or so. And then also from the streets I heard literaalselt, which was very horrifying. Literaalselt, so because literally is a difficult word to say. So I guess someone wanted to emphasize like, oh, that's literally tomorrow or something like that. And then they don't want to say the word because that will kind of expose their bad pronunciation. So they said, see on literaalselt homme, which was horrifying. If it sounded so wrong, but that was like 4 or 5 years ago, like 4 years ago. So I think that has like gone out, but we can change, like modify these like English words to fit Estonian better or to like compensate for a bad pronunciation. And that's it for now. If you have any questions, please do let me know. This was a very brief overview and very chaotic, but it's just good to know that we use these words because textbooks won't tell you that we use these words. So yeah, that's it. Bye!